So for this new episode, we will really enter into the dissection phase. I mean the part when you are under the mucosa and you want to dissect all the submucosal fibers that maintain the lesion on the muscular layer. And we will just discuss for this episode about the best cut line during the dissection phase. To be in a good position when beginning the dissection, you should have done a good injection, a good incision, and a good trimming in order to access really the submucosal space and begin to be stable in between the mucosa and the muscle and begin really the dissection phase. So first, the cut line on a theoretical point of view should never meet the muscle and the specimen, should be deep enough for vertical margin, should offer the best view on the vessels, and also should offer the best view on the circular muscular layer. So, first, it should never meet the muscle for perforation and the pieces to maintain the R0 resection rate. The baseline never meets the muscle. It means theoretically that the axis of your scope is directed front of the submucosal layer. It means that you are both doing a line that follow the muscle in an horizontal view but also in a circular view due to the shape of the bowel, and it will never go to the muscle. It means that the line of your cut should never go to the two edges in order to cut the muscle by going there. So you should, if possible, have a 3D representation of the muscle and the lesion, which is for me very difficult to acquire. It means you will need time in order to understand each bowel because in the digestive tract the round shape of the bowel is really depending on the organ. It means that in the esophagus it's a very short circle and it's larger in the colon, and therefore your line should follow the shape and the anatomy of the bowel where you are dissecting. It means that you will try to adapt yourself to the shape and the curve of the digestive tract. And it's the same when you follow a fold. You will have to go up until the summit of the heel and then go down. And you should, during this phase, avoid touching the muscle on the lower part and touching the specimen on the upper part. This is an example of the exercise you will we will propose to you in the next episode about the cut line. Here I show you where is the muscle. I propose several cut lines and you will have to choose which one is the better. And here I probably choose the third one, the 3, in order to have a cutting which is relatively close to the muscle in order to have a deep margin, but with a control on the muscular layer in order to avoid contact with the muscle and also contact with the specimen. So blue layer close to the muscle and without touching the specimen. Next picture, it should never meet the specimen. It's the second goal in order to stay R0. It means that you will stay at the same position with never an axis going to the specimen, like this. So, next step, you should also have in mind the axis of the specimen depending on the fold and depending on your traction strategy. For example, on the pylorus, but it's the same on a colon angle, you should be able to detect the pylorus. It will appear soon. So here you see that you should stay close to the muscle in order to see really the pylorus. You will see it. It's a gastric ESD. And once you will clearly see the pylorus, you should not go straight for your ESD, but try to have the tip of the knife going in the opposite side, I mean downly, in the second part of the pylorus. This is the downhill of the mountain, because if you go straight, you will touch the specimen. Next step, if you use a multi-traction strategy, you will have a reduced angle of the second part of your downhill. It means that instead of going up or going down, you will have a kind of line with a small downhill, and then you will be able to go straight. But all these things should be represented in your mind in order to try to follow the best line without any contact with the muscle, without any contact with the specimen. The most difficult ESD is probably the muscle retracting sign, and in this part it's very difficult because the muscle is attracted by the protruded lesion, and you will have a lot of fibrosis at the tip of the muscle. And in this case, probably the best way is to try to get blue on the two sides of this muscle retracting sign. You have a triangle shape of fibrosis and muscle, and your goal is to make the two blue layers on the two sides joined. And therefore you will dissect very carefully in order to create a blue layer on the left and on the right, and after slowly you will join the two edges. Usually there is a big vessel at this part because the muscle retracting sign is created by a large vessel that is feeding the very large protruding lesion, and therefore it is very important to go slowly but from blue to blue. Your goal is to join the two parts of the blue with a kind of virtual representation of the cutting line, even if in the center of the muscle retracting sign you will not be able to really see where you should cut. It's the help of the two blue that will help you to find the exit and achieve the resection at the end, with usually a kind of yellowish fibrotic tissue in the center. Next case, the cut line should be deep enough for vertical margin. It is very important because ESD has a sense only if it is R0. If finally you cut the specimen or you damage the specimen, you are R1, and finally there is no benefits compared to piecemeal EMR. So you should be deep enough. It means that you will adjust your ESD depending on the malignancy of the lesion. If you suspect a malignant component, you should have a very deep margin in order to avoid R1 resection for a cancer. Here you have an example. It's in the rectum. Very difficult to stay without touching the muscle. And because we think that the lesion is malignant, we will put the tip of the knife very close to the muscle layer in order to try to get the deepest margin we can. It was like this in the colon, in the colon, but here it's a rectal example. And nowadays in the rectum, there is a new strategy to get a larger deep margin, which is the intermuscular resection, like this. So first you begin as an ESD, a submucosal dissection ESD, but once you see clearly the circular layer, you will change your ESD in an intermuscular resection, injecting not the submucosal layer but the intermuscular layer in between the circular layer and the longitudinal layer, and your resection will be a deeper resection in order to be sure to obtain a R0 resection, even if there is a deep invasion submucosal T1 cancer. Sometimes for patients with a lot of comorbidities or when surgery is not an option, dissecting in the intermuscular space could allow you to be R0 without creating inflammation around the rectum for a further examination, but making it able to cut the intermuscular layer and get a R0 resection even if there is a deep submucosal invasion. Next, it should offer the best view on the vessels, and we have discussed a lot of this point during the episode about preparing vessels to avoid bleeding and bleeding management. But it is an important thing to know that you will have less vessels but bigger if you stay close to the muscle. And really, it's easier to treat a large vessel deeply than doing a lot of control for small bleedings very superficially. So if you want to have a precise preparation and prevention of bleeding on large vessel, you should be close to the muscle in order to control only the feeding vessels and reduce the number of vessels you should deal with. Here you will have very few vessels but relatively large, and on the opposite, relatively easy to manage because you see them very well and you can prepare themselves by trying to dissect on the two sides of the vessels, and after getting a coagulation with the lateral part of the electrode and not the tip of the electrode, which is frequently damaging the vessel. Next, it should offer also the best view on the circular muscular layer. It's very important because in the submucosa you get lost if you don't see the muscle. But if you see the muscle, the organization of the muscle is perfect. I mean, the circular layer is perpendicular to the axis of the bowel. So if you see it, you will be able to know where you are going. So for example, in POEM procedure, we stay very close to the muscle in order to always have the axis of the circular layer. And if you have the axis of the circular layer, you know that you can stay perpendicular and go straight in the esophagus without losing yourself on the right side or the left side. Even if there is a very big dilation of the muscle, you will find a way to go. If you want to dissect in diagonal because the lesion is not straight away in the bowel, you will also be able to see it by controlling the muscle layer. Here you see the muscle layer, and we know that we want to go not straight away but more on the left side, for example, of the muscle, and therefore we will keep the axis of the muscle in mind, seeing it in order to be able to dissect in the direction of the lesion that we have to remove. So finally, in this relatively small episode, what you have to keep in mind, it's very theoretical but also very important, that your cut line should be mentally represented during an ESD, and your goals are simple but should be taken into account during your procedure. The cut line should never meet the muscle and the piece. It should be deep enough for getting vertical margins R0. It should offer the best view on the vessels in order to deal with few vessels but larger, and it should offer the best view on the circular muscular layer in order to keep your axis of resection in mind. Thank you very much. I hope it was interesting for you. Don't forget to give us a like or a commentary, and we will give you soon exercise of cut line in order to train yourself with practical exercise. Thank you very much.